Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you might be. Hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday there over in arm wrestling land. I'm lucky enough today to have a very special guest with me, someone who recently came of a massive, very convincing victory, and is all around, I would say, a rising star in arm wrestling. Please welcome to the Fancy League, Mr. Paul Linn. Look at those straps. That's crazy. Welcome,
Uh,
Paul. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. My pleasure. My pleasure to be on.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. I know you must have a very busy schedule, but I think my chat is very appreciative too.
No,
Um,
yeah, my pleasure, man. I like what you're doing. I love this whole concept of the fantasy league, something we don't have in arm wrestling. So
yeah,
cool
yeah,
stuff.
I appreciate that. Yeah, people in chat seem excited. Yeah, I'm gonna go over the format really quick. We're doing a single elimination. Sorry, double elimination, 1 round per match. Fantasy, hypothetical fantasy league, with all the pullers there being in their all-time prime. Now, the entire bracket is all the participants are chosen by you, the viewer, and yeah, also the outcome of the matches will be chosen by you in the chat. So, yeah, be sure to keep your eye on the chat and vote when the time comes. We'll be going over, I believe, the losers round, the second losers round, and the third round on the A side. So, yeah, very exciting there. Thanks again, Paul. The first non-Australian person, by the way, I've had on the live stream on a fancy league.
Oh no! So that means all the previous results are bogus. Is that what that means?
There might be a surprise the second match. Yeah, but you'll see that when we get there. I'll pull up the brackets really quickly. Um, So yeah, our first match of the day in the losers round two will be a prime Richard Lupkes versus a prime Alex Kurdecha.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's a pretty big match, and for me personally, hard to evaluate. I don't know about you, Paul.
Well, the first thing that jumps out to me is I don't think we have yet to see a prime Alex Kurdecha.
All right.
So I think that prime version exists in the future, and it's very hard to speculate on that. I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people think Alex Kurdecha is one of the few people out there who have a chance of one day contesting Levan. A lot
Sure.
of that's based on his stature, his bone structure, all the things that he possesses genetically. But I think most people would agree he's not there yet, but he
Mm-hmm.
may be in the closest closing distance of Levan. But for me, it would be hard for me to speculate his prime since it hasn't happened yet. Um,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Lupkes' prime is one of like legend.
Yeah, Lupkes, I think we can say for certain had one of the highest peaks in arm wrestling so far. I think it's safe to say. I'm not saying the highest peak, but definitely up there. And yeah, like you mentioned, Alex Kurdecha is just pure frame wise and potential wise. I think Alex in his prime, whenever that may be. I hope we haven't seen it yet. I hope it's yet to come. Yeah, that would be a tough match. I think any day of the week. I see right now Richard Lupke seems to be winning here with 100% of the vote so far.
Yeah, I think that's logical. I mean, we're talking about arguably, one of the all-time strongest human beings ever to be involved in arm wrestling. We're talking about legendary side pressure, shoulder roll, the prior history of the sport, with wrist wrestling and all the different rule sets. It
Mm-hmm.
really lended itself to people who had immense side pressure. And Richard is a guy that can go directly sideways. Also, a guy that can flop press if he needs to with that side pressure.
Mm.
You look at a guy like Kurdecha with that long lever, long forearm ability to stay outside. I just don't know. I mean, I think even that leverage advantage and his style kind of plays against him when you're talking about an immensely strong side pressure puller
Yeah,
with a huge motor.
that
It
does make
takes it
sense.
takes the Travis Bagent style, like very efficient and calculated top roll with side pressure in order to be able to beat a Richard.
Yeah. And I don't know if an Alex, as we've seen him, would be able to do that. That's very true. Um,
Well,
yeah,
Alex is kind of like notorious, not notorious, but early in his career, he had definitely gotten into matches where he overpronated and extended and kind of fell away from his arm. Obviously, he's much more technical now and
mhm.
he's progressing at an immense rate. But I feel like if there was any ounce of overpronation or shoulder falling too far backwards, that side pressure would take over.
Yeah. There's a good chance of that happening too. If it were sit downs, for sure Richard would take it. Um,
Oh, sit downs for sure.
yeah,
Because
being
you can top roll
undisputed.
and sit downs, but it is a side pressure top roll. Your shoulder can only go so far backwards.
Yep. How that man never broke his arm is still quite a mystery to me. But yeah,
Mhm. Genetics, buddy, genetics. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you dug into Richard. I'm sure with your
yeah.
historian approach to this, but I mean, we're talking about a guy that didn't own an arm wrestling table. Like, what the
hmm
hell is that? You know?
Yeah, very true. It's so weird to think about. You've got a couple of other
Mhm.
people that I think John Brzenk is the same to an extent, you know. He definitely practiced a lot and he arm wrestled a lot, but I think maybe John Brzenk is the other way around in that he didn't do a lot of training outside of the arm wrestling table necessarily.
Yeah, yeah. Richard, I think, was the beginning of an era of arm wrestlers that focused predominantly on the gym. I
Yeah.
think in that era there were a lot more guys like Cobra Rhodes and John who were doing their work on the table, maybe some body weight movements and stuff. Richard was a guy that was focused on those large muscle groups and just being immensely strong. Obviously, he's good genetics and he cared a lot about the aesthetics. And he's proof that you can have huge muscle bellies and aesthetics and still be a tremendously strong arm wrestler.
Yeah, so true. And that's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah, that's true. Richard was one of the first people to actually take the gym work outside of it more seriously, indeed. And we're closing in on the 5 minute mark here, closer than it originally was, with 62% of the votes going to Richard Lupkes right now,
Okay.
with about I would say 20 seconds left in the match here.
I think that's solid. That's a solid representation, I think, of his chances as well. I think it's probably a 65% chance that he would win that.
Yeah, indeed. I can definitely see that happening. Um, Yeah, remember to vote indeed. Thank you for reminding me in the chat there. Just go on down to the chat if you're on mobile, open the little chat window, and there should be a poll that's available for you to vote on right at the top there. But that does end this match at 5 minutes here with Richard Lupkes narrowly getting the victory with 56% of the votes in the end. So yeah, well done there, Richard Lupkes. Let's take a look at the brackets really quick to see what our next match will be and enter these results.
Meanwhile, shout out to you guys in the chat, man. Lot of familiar faces, Tall Paul Hutchings and White Wolf. I'm reading the chat as we go. Thanks
Awesome.
for joining, guys.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. We've got a lot of regulars in the chat, which I do appreciate. I know it's not the day I usually go live, but I do appreciate you guys turning up in this big of numbers. Thank you for that. Our next match. Now, this one, Paul, I don't know what to say about this one, but it's Ryan Bowen versus Matt Masking. Yes, Ryan Bowen did make it into this tournament by popular vote, coming in at number 23 of number 24 as far as vote count goes.
So they voted Ryan Bowen in so he could get roasted a couple of times before he gets booted off the thing, before he loses on the B side. This is a B side.
Yeah,
This is a B side right now.
this is B
I'm
side,
assuming.
but he did win his first match versus Dave Chafee.
Who did? Ryan did?
Ryan did.
Oh my goodness. Dave Chafee of the future.
Yeah,
At 65.
might be the case. Yeah, but then he did
Yeah.
lose, thankfully, to Vitaly Laletin in the next round. Um,
Okay.
to now face.
Narrow margin of loss, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was actually very narrow. Yeah, indeed. Believe it or not.
Okay, so Ryan Bowen is clearly in the exact same category as Kurdecha. I
Yeah.
say it jokingly, but also in all seriousness. Um, he is. We have not seen the best version of Ryan Bowen. He
Right.
is. We're talking about prime. Ryan is not in his prime. Ryan and I have talked very recently in Dubai,
Mm.
and I believe that Ryan's prime is ahead of him, and it's not at the 115 category or whatever he's pushed his weight up to.
What are you
I
thinking?
believe he's a 95 guy,
Hmm.
maybe even a 90 guy. He needs to get his body composition to where it needs to be, where it can be optimal. I do believe that Ryan can be between 95 and 90 and be very, very relevant. Just my personal opinion, because I know his commitment and his IQ in arm wrestling. You say what you want about the guy, but he's a tremendously intelligent arm wrestler.
Sure.
And he's working in a class where his genetics don't suit it. His genetics and his lifestyle, basically.
Yeah.
And his frame. He's a taller guy, but he's still, at 6'1". I still see him as a 95 guy. And I think at 95 or 90, his frame could be an advantage to him as long as he gets his body composition right. So I think we're going to see the best of Ryan in the future. Is there a version of Ryan that could beat Matt Mask? Probably not, unless they were the exact same weight and Matt Mask got it down to 90 kilograms.
Yeah, it would be a skeleton, I think, close to a skeleton. Yeah, but that does mean Ryan would become your direct competition, right? If what you're saying comes true.
Yeah, but guy, Ryan and I have already competed. We've already been in the same weight class. We've been there. We've been there.
Right.
But the reality of it is, this is just me talking to him as a friend in the pool in Dubai. You got it. You're never gonna know where your peak performance is if you never dial everything in. You got to dial everything in, from diet to work ethic to lifestyle choices, and you got to get yourself to a peak performance body composition, and then you'll at least know.
Yeah.
But right now, you're eating whatever you want and you're trying to be as big as you can, going against monsters in a weight class where a lot of us have no business being. I don't think you ever even get a fair evaluation of yourself.
Yeah, and I think you're a pretty good authority to speak on that, considering your background, and it's very clear to me.
Yeah, people ask me what are you going back to 95 for? You're strong enough to compete at 105, and maybe I am, but I don't like my body composition. I don't like how much food I have to eat. I don't like the way I feel. I don't believe that I'm my peak level of performance when I'm 230 pounds and out of breath walking up the steps. I feel like my best chances of being the best version of myself is walking around at 215 and cutting to 209.
Yeah, and I think that's important too, right? To stay attuned to what your body's telling you in that regard. I don't know. On a little side note here, I don't know if you've kept up with the most recent Ryan Bowen online drama regarding a new episode of the Delusional Ryan Bowen series coming out, and then Ryan basically doxing the guy.
Well, what did he do?
He found out who the guy was and basically posted his picture and name on his YouTube channel.
Oh, did he? Who is it?
It's apparently, what's his name here? I can pull it up. Let me take a quick look for you. I don't think it's anyone you know.
No, see, I was talking about this. This came up in Dubai. Me and Ray were talking about it, and they were and Alex Top Roll, and the guy reached out to me at the beginning of all this. I think it was like the first one of them.
Really?
And I forget what he told me. He's not an arm wrestler or something. Just likes doing bits. So I vaguely remember it before it became super popular.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research on the guy. His name is Ray Anikue or something like that. Yeah. It didn't ring a bell for me too. I did a little bit of digging on him. It seems he entered into an arm wrestling competition in America years and years ago in a youth division. He did arm wrestle at one point, a little bit at least. But then it seems like he pivoted to basketball and stuff like that. It's a tall, lanky guy, so he's doing and track and field and stuff. So
Okay, so what? So Ryan wanted to blow him up by outing him, but I think a lot of people really appreciate the editing talent that goes into that. So I feel like maybe the guy wanted to remain anonymous for whatever reason.
Sure.
But he's probably going to get a lot of fans and people asking him to do edits for
him. Yep. I wouldn't be surprised if this turns out to the benefit of our man here.
Oh, what did White Wolf say? Deathbed Dave, only version? What did he say?
Oh yeah, White Wolf, thank you for the super chat. Very generous of you. He said, "Deathbed Dave, only version of Dave Chafee, Ryan, or most of us will ever beat." Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
true.
true though. In the meanwhile, the match has ended, and to my surprise, Ryan Bowen will be leaving the tournament because he lost to Matt Mask in a very narrow vote.
Dave Chafee, he spent all of his energy
Yeah,
in the opening match, and he was spent. And sometimes that's how the tournament goes. Your draw, and you decide you're not willing to go B-side in that first round, so he spent everything on Dave. I don't know if it's a good decision as far as longevity, but that's what happened, I guess.
Yeah, true, indeed. Ryan, yeah, that's too bad. Should have listened to Paul there. Should have had him as your corner man.
It was a close match, though. It was 55-44. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
true.
44%. Ryan has been known for getting 44% in other aspects.
Yeah, true. Okay, so Matt Mask, the winner here. Moving on to the brackets for a second. Well done, Matt Mask. Ryan Bowen, unfortunately, leaving us. Our next match is Genadi Kvikvinia versus Monster Michael Todd.
Ooh.
Yeah, indeed.
That's like a toss-up. But again, if we're talking prime, we may be talking WAL Michael or even prior.
Yeah.
And then if we're talking Genadi prime, we're probably talking the version we've seen most recently
Versus
against
Devon.
some other people.
Yeah. I can see that for sure. I think it'll be, I don't know, I kind of see Michael giving a lot of the top guys, a prime Michael Todd giving a lot of the top guys a tough time.
Me too.
Yeah.
I do too. I think the weird factor in this is Genadi's versatility and his tenacity and his ability to flop press. So, I mean, I don't think that a prime Devon King's move is better than a prime Michael Todd King's move.
Yeah, I agree.
Beats the Devon.
Yeah.
But Genadi showed the ability, to press through.
That's
Devon's,
true.
I think Devon was at close to one of his primes.
Yeah, and the fact that it's best of one though might give the edge to Michael, maybe not giving Genadi enough time to adapt. I'm not quite sure there.
Maybe but that's where it gets weird. Is like when you look at like endurance and like trickiness and stuff. Like, would Genadi be able to steal around before endurance became an issue?
Yeah.
Would he be able to steal it with flop quick, or would it just be too much and he gets worn out in that round and maybe has to battle later on? This one's really tough. Like, this is like a 50-50, and I don't really have a big stance on this one. It's a lot. I think the styles really, really match up, like with Genadi being a legitimate dead wrist presser. And then the idea of where was Michael's prime.
Yeah, it's a match I personally would have loved to have seen in another time. I do think they faced each other at one time, or am I mistaken there?
I think they did, didn't they?
Yeah, I think once, right?
I think it was early on, wasn't it?
Yeah. Could be. Chat, remind us if you know. DMT never. Muscle Bike says DMT never beats Genadi, who beat Devon. Maybe. Keep in mind that it is a prime, Michael Todd. Bowen and Michael Todd out back to back. Can dreams really come true, says Medieval Dead. Okay. A lot of people showing their colors here. In the meanwhile, Genadi is winning with 67% of the vote so far. Quick reminder.
That surprises me.
Yeah, that is quite convincingly, right?
Yeah, I would have thought it would have wound up very in the 50s to the 40s. Because I think Michael's a tough out for anybody. I mean, again, I do think that the single round favors the other person.
Right.
Michael's never been known to be a great tournament arm wrestler because of the styles, except for before when he went full King's move, when he was a total roller. That's when he was killing everybody in tournament.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Spacey asks, what style pads? I believe we decided at the start of the tournament we are doing East versus West style pads. So, and I think they're a little bit bigger, right, than the standard WAF
Yeah,
pads?
they're a centimeter bigger on every side, all
Right.
4 sides. So basically, a total, if they're originally 7 by 7 inches, they're like basically 8 by.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So it's somewhere between WAF and WAL pads, I'm guessing.
Difference between WAL
Uh,
and WAF was WAL's was 2 inches longer,
right.
and it was
Okay.
only longer on the back end.
That's
So it was
interesting.
designed by Devon and Travis to be amazing for back pressure top roll. I mean, I'm being serious. It
Yeah.
was not. So like it wasn't an inch forward plus an inch backward. So it didn't help a shoulder forward person one bit.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's why we saw all those crazy Kings move matches in WL, because you
Yeah.
had 2 more inches of direct back pressure.
That kind of makes Jerry Cadderet's performance even more impressive, right?
100%. 100%.
Yeah. That's a crazy tidbit there. I was not fully aware of.
Yeah. I still have some of those. I have one of my tables has those pads. It's not a great preparation tool.
Yeah, I bet.
They're very comfortable.
Yeah, they look very comfortable indeed. Uh, yeah, very cushiony. In the meanwhile, 68% of you think Genadi, a prime Genadi Kvikvinia, would take this
Wow.
match. Yeah.
For Mike, man.
Yeah, that's a crazy number for me too. I thought it would have been a lot closer there. We have about 30 seconds left in the match. Spacey says Devon and Travis designed the pads. I do believe they were, quite influential in the WAL.
Yeah, they were Devon. Yes, big time. When coming off a game of arms, Travis had a ton of pull, and Devon as well, because he was in the second season of that, and
Yep.
they were part of the quote unquote committee.
I hope we get to see the tapes of the second season come out of the vault, or what little they did shoot. I don't know.
Love it, man. I hate when they do things like that. I'm talking about with general shows, like there's several shows that haven't been finished out there that I was a huge fan of, and I know they shot part of it, and I'm like, just release it.
Yeah, I agree there. We do have this match ending at the 5-minute mark with Genadi Kvikvinia taking the win over Monster Michael Todd with 67% of the votes. So surprise there, but well done, Genadi. And let's take a look at what that does to our brackets here. We have, of course, Genadi winning and Michael Todd leaving the tournament. I didn't expect him to leave this early. I'm not quite sure what his previous losses were. He had a win versus Scott Norton, and then he lost versus Ermes, Gasparini, and then now he lost versus Kvikvinia. So yeah, 2 very tough opponents in a row there. Our next match and the final match of the losers round will be Todd Hutchings versus Steel Artyom Morozov. I believe that's his name, right? Steel, his nickname.
The Terminator.
The Terminator, yeah, I like that one a lot better.
Man, again, here we go with these guys that are currently relevant and not in their prime.
Yeah.
Todd can't beat him. Todd can't beat him. Sorry, guys. I love Todd. I'm the biggest Todd Hutchins fan that there is. Uncle Side Pressure is the guy. I emulate so many aspects of him, but he's not beating Artyom. Too much post top roll, too much hand, and potentially will contest him in a hook too.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree there as much as I do like Todzilla. Unfortunately, I don't see him taking down Artyom.
That said, I really think he would potentially make the match weird if he could stop it. But like when you look at the guys that have, even with Todd adapting to whatever whatever you want to consider, like if you really break down how he's been pulling, he is an outside puller against outside pullers. He just does it with no intention of keeping his hand. His full effort, is into keeping his pronator. And a lot of people, oh man, he got top rolled and he just side pressure through it. Well, he can't side pressure like that without his pronation.
Mm.
And one of Todd's biggest, like most underrated abilities, and you only know it if you pull him, is how much pronation he has. He's known as the side pressure king, but a lot of that is coming from his amazing pronation that nobody talks about.
Huh.
So he's able to contest these outside pullers. I just don't believe that because of Artyom's sheer stature and his lever length and his hand, it would be hard for him to get a stop against that rising pressure.
Yeah, I think I would have to certainly concur there. I think Morozov would take this one. Although, like you said, I do see Todd maybe putting him in an awkward position if he gets the hit first on him, for sure.
Yeah. And that's one of the things he's changed as well, too. He's no longer catching at all. He is initiating. So if he stopped it, it could get really weird. But I mean, it's another thing, too, where like Artyom is also like he has tremendous endurance and heart.
Mm-hmm.
And he's versatile. So, like, I mean, if there was somehow like a scenario where he stopped it or there was a restart, you could see Artyom totally switch and maybe just go inside.
Yeah. And in that, like along those same lines, I think if Todd Hutchings would get a hit on Artyom first and a slip would happen, I think in the straps, Artyom could pretty much outpower him if he at all can engage his top roll.
Well, wasn't there like a fairly recent training video with Dadikan and Morozov?
Yeah, that does ring a bell.
I think I saw something maybe on Arm Olymp or something like that where Dadikan was training with Morozov and doing well. So maybe it's closer. I don't know if you want to use that as data. I don't like practice pools, but Dadikan maybe, they may be close in hook pressure.
Yeah, they did face each other on the left, right, in a very, very close match at King of the Table, I believe, not too long ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big difference is Dadikan has much more hand than Todd. Maybe able to impose a few different lanes Todd might not be able to get to. But
yeah, I'm having a hard time here imagining a decisive victory for Todd, at least. Kazazuri says came at the right time to vote for Morozov. Yes, indeed. Tall Paul says if Morozov was the same weight as Uncle Zilla, I think he would have a chance. Yeah,
chance he would kill him.
Yeah, I think so.
You bring Morozov down to 100 kilograms, he's getting killed.
Yeah, I think so too. If Devon was the same weight as Levan, he'd beat him with that logic, says White Wolf. Yeah, that's
solid, 100%.
Yep. So yeah, this one does seem like kind of a landslide victory. I think we can end the poll here a little prematurely. We'll call it a flash pin for Mr. Morozov on Todzilla.
Probably.
Yeah. With Morozov taking the victory with 73% of the votes here. Quick look at our brackets, and that'll be the end of the losers round, I do believe, with Morozov taking the victory here. And moving on, unfortunately, Mr. Todd Hutchings will be leaving the tournament. Which brings us to round 3 of the winner's side, with a very interesting matchup, one for the ages, John Brzenk versus Travis Bagent.
Well, I think John has had a all-time winning record on Travis, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know Travis has wins on John,
sure.
But I think it's pretty standard knowledge that Travis was more close to his prime in those years too.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was the younger man, maybe the more fit per se by years.
Yeah.
The version that we saw Moldova, Travis beat John. Don't know if that match was staged either, to be honest. But
interesting.
Yeah, I don't like Travis and tell me I'm the greatest and everything. You're the greatest left arm.
Yeah.
John is his right arm.
Very true. I do agree.
And this should be a blowout.
Yeah. It's a tough one, right? To decide, I think John would take it in the end. With it, like you said, being on the right arm. And I do think a peak John can hang up just about anybody. I don't know about Levan. I don't know if you know, by the way, but one of the league's rules is Levan is banned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's as he should be, as he should be.
yeah, indeed.
Yeah, I don't think I think the people who know the sport the best
Hmm.
recognize Levan as the strongest puller ever to live,
Yep.
right? And there being a marginal gap there. But we're talking about a 100-kilogram guy in John, 220-pound guy who beat the world's best. We're talking about Cleve Dean. We're talking about, we're talking about Lupkes. We're talking about everybody from every continent at that time, and who also is now competing at an extremely high level in his weight class to this day, approaching 60. Like,
Yeah.
the guy's the GOAT, man. We're talking about prime John, who, and Neil or Engen could tell you what years that was, but I'm sure they'll also tell you that he was absolutely untouchable.
Yep, indeed. And I think chat largely agrees with you there with right now 83%, 85 even percent of the votes going to Mr. Brzenk. Might be a big favorite to win it all here in the tournament. But yeah, there's a couple of other people that I can see John having a tough time against. Because as Uri says, Paul Linn in the live. Yes, indeed. We're very grateful to Mr. Paul Linn for being here, lending us his time. White Wolf says, top John, no question. Yeah,
No question.
had to go with John, says Gertillen, prime time. Yeah, indeed. I think this is another one of those matches, just like the previous one, where one of the pullers seemed to be winning in a landslide.
Yeah, as it should be. We're talking about John here. And Travis talks a good game, but his right has been at immense levels. You talk about that year in WAL where he smoked everybody right on. Talk about game of arms, like that was right around his right arm peak.
Right.
And probably also, 10 years after John.
Yeah. I do think in their prime, John would take it on the right, and probably, very short Travis would take it on the left there versus John. Even though John's left was quite accomplished in its own right during certain periods in arm wrestling.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I do think Travis would take it on the left quite handily, though.
He would.
Yeah. I think we can end this one too at about the 3.5 minute marks with John Brzenk taking 89% of the votes, which is
no contest. Here's how the match went. Travis argued with the referee. He false started 2 times. He realized he false started twice. He got his first foul because he realized he had no purchase. And then John stopped him, turned him in a hook. Travis lifted his elbow, 2 fouls. Travis submits.
That does make a lot of sense to me. Yeah, I could definitely see that happening.
Travis doesn't like to get pinned. You don't like to get
pinned. Yeah, true. We'll end it here. John Brzenk very handily taking the victory there. Well done, John. Of course, wouldn't have expected anything different. Let's take a quick look who Travis will be facing in the losers bracket here. He's going up against Matt Mask.
Travis wins that.
Yeah, I do think so. We'll
realistically, Rohan top roll versus make a fist post top roll with a similar strength wins every time.
Yeah. I do agree there, indeed. Yeah. I think they're also pretty similar in lever lengths and stuff, so yeah. I do think Travis would take it.
He is more high side.
Yeah, that makes sense. Our next round, though, might not be as easy. It's Ermes Gasparini versus a prime Alexey Voyevoda.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
Match I would have loved to have seen happen at some point, but unfortunately I don't think we will see it happen anytime soon.
I have Ermes as the favorite. And I have Ermes as the favorite, not because of sheer strength or anything like that, but because of the clash of styles.
Okay.
Obviously, if Voevoda got any type of wrist flexion, any type of hook positioning, I would take Voevoda. I just don't think that even an existing, whether Ermes is at his prime yet or not, his back pressure pronation and hand strength is kind of like the acid weapon against Voevoda. We've seen Travis beat him. It's a similar style,
Mm.
except for I believe Ermes is better at the move than Travis.
Yeah, I would say Ermes is more, as far as I can tell at least, Ermes is more hand focused even than Travis and would take that control.
Back pressure and pronation are wild. Wild.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see it being close, maybe. I don't know. It's very hard to evaluate a Voevoda in his prime compared to some of the powerhouses we have now in the sport. That's a very tough call for me to make. Very difficult. But I do think Ermes Gasparini, I'm having a hard time picturing Ermes losing against Alexey Voyevoda. Especially if Ermes is really on his game and really quick. I think he can get the win pretty quickly.
It's weird. Like, I think we all consider Alexey Voyevoda as one of the greatest all-time arm wrestlers for sure. He came into the sport and brought a level of athleticism, commitment, and general strength training that I don't think was in the sport at the time too much. Professionalism and things like that. He also sticks out to me as basically the first viral arm wrestler. I feel like there's some of those videos where he's pulling 13 little kids and doing weird stuff, lifting, bench pressing on the leg press machine. Yeah. Those things, I think, at the time were extremely viral. And I think they added to his hype. And then when we saw him transition into bobsled and all the different things, make his comeback, and the different little eras of Voevoda. When we saw Travis pull him, then we saw
Michael also later.
Yeah, Tim Brzenk later on. Then we saw his most recent comeback. I'm not sure that I think he's one of the greatest arm wrestlers, the most memorable per se. I just don't know how good he really was when you talk about prime of the sport then versus some of these guys now. Yeah. And I think this is a good example of it. I think Ermes is an evolution, where arm wrestling was kind of in a different place at the time.
Yeah. And it's funny because I kind of associate, now that you mentioned that, I kind of associate Ermes in the same way that you said Richard Lupkes was kind of one of the first people to popularize training outside of the table. I kind of associate Ermes with one of the pioneers of the new age of arm wrestling, especially in the super heavyweight category. For some reason, he stands out in my head as one of the first people that I thought okay, this is a guy taking it to the next level. Together with people like Levan and
For sure.
Roger Larratt says Ermes 100%.
Roger, smart man, Raj.
Yeah.
That's my buddy.
Oh, I'd also go with Alexey in his prime. Or at least he'd kick Ermes' ass. Gertillen says going with Voevoda, but could be mistaken. And Kazazuri says, depends how much gear is available for Voevoda. Okay. We'll just assume the same amount he had in his prime, whatever that might be.
Yeah, well, when was that? Was that during the bobsled or was it during arm wrestling? We don't know.
Yeah, indeed. I don't think we'll ever know for sure. Right now, chat is giving the victory to Ermes Gasparini with 78% of the votes. I do want to remind chat again, if you haven't voted, maybe take a second to go down to the chat and get your vote in. Doesn't take long. It's very easy to do. I see there's a lot more of you guys in here than have cast their votes. So yeah, get over there and cast your vote for your favorite puller to win here. Voevoda had him USSR gear. Okay. We're good on the gear talk, guys, for now. I hope Voevoda had a lucky egg like Thanka from Cool Runnings. Okay, some bobsledding references there from Muscle Bike. I think we can end this match. It's about at 4 minutes, with 77% of the votes going to one Italian, Mr. Ermes Gasparini. Well done there, Ermes. Let's take a quick look at the brackets and see what that does here. With Ermes winning over Alexey Voyevoda. That does mean Voevoda is facing Richard Lupkes in the losers round 3 next week. Yep, that'll be a
Did
good
they ever
one.
pull in real life? I wonder. I
Huh.
don't think they did.
No, not that I know of, at least. I don't know if it's ever been recorded.
Same era, but I don't think they ever did, right?
Yeah, I can't remember a time that they did. Which brings us to our next match in the winner's side here, round 3, with Devon Larratt versus Vitaly Laletin. Yeah.
That's a weird one because Devon has always spoken of Vitaly as being such a problem for him, even though we've never seen the match.
Yep.
The lever length, the crushing grip strength, all this, the low hand, the pronation. Devon kind of has self-admittedly put Vitaly on like a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it started before we saw some of Vitaly's weird losses, like the one to Chafee and stuff.
Yeah.
Devon had touted him as like the next guy to beat Levan.
True.
And the version of this guy that I saw in Dubai is filled out, and his forearm is like somebody's thigh.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. That one I don't like. I mean, we all want to, Devon being who he is and everything. It's hard to count him out. But we're talking about one round in a tournament.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think if you would have asked people some weeks ago before his Levan match, I think most people would have said Devon pretty easily.
Yep.
Whether or not that's still the case, I don't know. There's this famous side pulling footage. I think it was around the time Devon had his match with Denis, with Devon pulling Vitaly there and Vitaly pretty handily beating him. Now, of course, that doesn't mean anything, but I think that's the only thing we can kind of refer to where the two have met on the table.
Devon's side pulling lets you kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Devon in a setup takes everything away from you, every single thing, and manipulates, and like that's the big advantage to me. Like if I was to say Devon's the favorite, it would be based off of all the mind games, manipulation, setup, and like the ancillary things that are so important in arm wrestling. Aside from just who has the best anatomy or has the most strength. There's so much more to it, so much more that's happening before. Devon is not only the best setup arm wrestler, he's also the best mid-match adjustment maker. So he has all those things in his arsenal. But then the question comes down to, like, are we in a Levan scenario where there's just too much mass, too much lever length, too much of any one component that he can't stop it?
Yeah, that's true. I definitely agree that Vitaly wouldn't be quite as strident during the setup, right, as Devon. I do think Devon would get the upper hand possibly there. You're right. But yeah, it's hard to say, right? Is a prime Vitaly right now, you think?
Basically said Devon will crush Vitaly so easily. That is not the case.
I don't think so either.
There is no world where that's a quick match. If anything, it's a battle of attrition.
Yeah. I think it could be a very good match. I don't know about right now with Devon losing this much weight, but yeah, if you would have...
like now listen, if Devon and Vitaly met at Devon's current weight, Devon is the favorite. Because Devon might be my weight right now after his 5-day fast.
It does kind of look like it, right? I saw a couple of pictures and that's crazy. Let's see what the people in chat here think. Devon in this pic really looks like he's ripped straight out of the latest Mortal Kombat game. Yeah, he kind of does. I like the pic, that's why I chose it. Paul Linn on the live. What a beast this man is. Yes, indeed. SPQR. Serious beast. Medieval that says Devon looks like that Red Stretch Armstrong toy from the 90s. We never had it here, but I do get that reference.
I had one.
Jerry Marlin says the only match I want to see Paul Linn versus Devon in 3 months. You think that'll ever happen, Paul Linn?
I don't know. He keeps jabbing at me. He's said stuff in the past and said stuff. He just said something the other day. They did a little birthday roast and he was telling, I'm coming for you. It's like my 3rd day of my fast. I'm like, stop it. No, I mean, maybe someday, but like,
Yeah, you
Now,
never know, right?
the guy is a stylistic nightmare for me.
Yeah, I think for a
You
lot of
met me in the
people.
middle, but he's not gonna meet me.
Yeah, I'd still like to see it just for my own personal pleasure there, but nothing else. Yeah, I don't know. Right now, chat is saying 71% of chat is saying Devon would take the victory over Vitaly. Yeah, that's a little more decisive than I would have thought too. If you haven't voted already, get your votes in. Your votes could make the difference, and people could start voting for the other person a little more once you get your vote in there. I see about half of you, a little more than half of you are voting right now. So do get your votes in there if you can. Otherwise, thank you just for listening. I think we can end the match here. I don't see any crazy things happening anymore. We've got about 30 seconds left in the match, so I think Devon Larratt comfortably takes it.
To me, that's one of the more interesting ones that we talked about, though. Like, in all honesty.
Yeah, I agree
that's
there.
one I want to see in real life, like right now, like soon.
Yep. That's very true. I'm also very interested if they might face each other again, if Vitaly might make it through the losers brackets up to Devon again. Maybe that's a possibility, I think, here. So yeah, Devon Larratt takes it here, which means Vitaly will be facing Morozov in the losers round 3 next week. So yeah, that'll be an interesting one. Which brings us to our last match of the night, and it's a good one. It's Prime Denis Cyplenkov versus Prime Andrey Pushkar.
Ooh.
Yeah, indeed.
Did we see that in their primes ever?
I don't know about in their primes. I'm having a hard time.
Their primes may have kind of overlapped.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is not like...
It's not an exact science either.
Yeah. They weren't too far apart.
No, for sure. I think Andrei's prime was probably by the time of his very unfortunate demise in 2018, I believe.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what was Denis doing then?
I don't know. I'm losing my timeline here, but I don't know if we ever saw.
I think 2018 was when Denis faced Devon, right? Also around that time.
I think so. So that would have been slightly outside of Denis's prime.
Yeah, indeed.
Maybe that was his prime. We don't know. We weren't seeing him active on the right arm, really.
Yeah.
Hard to say. I don't know. I mean, like when you really break that down, and like we say, well, maybe we never saw Pushkar's prime. We might not have. But his style was so aggressive and like high, like posted deep cup, like brute force top roll, which kind of is the antidote for Denis. You know, if you can't effectively hook it and he gets out into your fingers and takes your pronation, it could be quick for Andrey. But like, I think if we ever saw that match turn in, it turns into Denis's match. That's a weird one.
Yeah, it's very, very hard to evaluate, right?
I'm very torn. I could see it like go either way.
Yeah, depending on who gets. Maybe if Andrey is, because he's that quick and that explosive, if you see his matches, I could see him going through Denis without Denis really being able to engage that open top roll, really.
I feel like a super match favors Denis. A one round maybe favors Andrey.
Yeah.
Also thought that we might not ever seen his real prime.
Yeah, that's true. I could see that definitely happening. Yeah. Chat seems to.
It's still a toss up to me. I would have a hard time voting on this.
Yeah, so far chat seems to kind of disagree here with 75% of the votes going to Cyplenkov.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times in these things it becomes a pseudo popularity contest.
Sure.
I think that's with the Devon results, and that's not a dig on people vote for the people they
Yeah, yeah.
like. You know, and Denis is definitely a more popular arm wrestler.
Yeah.
You know, but I do think it's very tricky, and that's one that like I would have loved to see.
Yeah, yeah, me as well. Very unfortunate that we won't be able to see that. But
Denis Stonewall Devon left arm.
yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
In the chat.
RIP, RIP Andrey Pushkar, says Mike. Indeed, Mike. KL1172 said, didn't Pushkar only won one time from Denis? I know they
That might
pulled,
be
but
true. You
yeah,
might know more than me. Yeah, like
yeah,
I wasn't active at the time. A lot of those matches are ones that I watched on YouTube way after the fact.
yep. Same for me, of course. I don't know. Many times Denis killed him, says Mike. Interesting. Might want to use another turn of phrase there, Mike, but yeah, interesting. That's good information. Joko Bobo says, okay, watch the available matches, and on the left, it was close. But on the right, Denis completely stonewalled Pushkar. Okay,
Okay,
interesting.
well, you guys know more than me.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
guys,
Thank you, Joko Bobos, for that information. Yeah,
okay,
it's still hard to say, right? Because I'm assuming that probably they weren't both in their primes when they faced each other. But yeah, that does lend some credence to the fact that Cyplenkov might take this one. Tall Paul says, would have loved to have seen Denis versus Travis on the left. Maybe we'll still get it someday. Yeah, who knows?
yeah, you might. That's like a real potential match if Travis, his comeback like stays on track. That's a real potential match, and that's a headliner, man. That is a headliner.
For sure, yeah, that would be a match for the ages, definitely. What do you think, by the way, Paul, on a personal note? Do you think Travis will stick with his comeback, regardless of the outcome of his match?
Well, let me not say that. I think
Sure.
Travis is committed to that. Now, could one match here or there derail him
Mm-hmm.
potentially? But he's competing with both arms, which is nice. Which means like if he loses on one and he's still got the other one active.
Yeah.
I think he's going to probably ride that. I don't see him losing left arm any of these matches coming up, except for maybe Neil is the problem. But
Mm-hmm.
Travis has learned to deal with the flat press. And I feel like if he's in his moment and he's scared enough and uncomfortable enough, it's going to be hard to beat that guy on the left when he's committed.
Yeah, yeah. I can definitely see that. Travis is doing very well on the left. I'm looking forward to seeing him perform, for sure. Seeing him back on the table. It's going to be really interesting to see Travis in a East versus West setting. Um, that's going to be an interesting contrast to me in some ways.
Yep. It's going to be cool. It's going to be cool.
Meanwhile, in chat, yeah, go ahead, Paul.
I think when you're talking about Travis coming back, even from like the commentator's booth, he has mentioned so many times how he perceives the pressure of that stage, and the current state of arm wrestling and like the kind of nowhere to hide thing, like you're going against the best in the world, and he's talked about it so often as a commentator, and I think his decision to jump in with both feet means he is totally committed to that pressure, which I think he maybe even perceives that pressure higher than the rest of us. So, and I know he thrives when he's scared and uncomfortable. That's when that charisma comes out as almost a defense mechanism. So we might see like a pressure cooker situation where we actually get one of the best versions of the guy.
That would be awesome. Yeah, he definitely seemed very genuine and ready to go in the last interview I saw with him. Drew Dubois coming in with one of his membership monthly super chats says, ask Paul if Matt Mask is the best of all time.
Best of all time. He's one of my favorites of all time as far as arm wrestler people and stuff. Yeah, he's freaking awesome. And his energy is one of the best of all time for sure.
Yeah, same here.
Matt, it's the same. We pull in weight classes. Matt's a 242 guy, maybe even a 225 guy. None of us down here in the lower rankings, other than John, can be can be in that category.
Yeah, maybe on a fluke day or something. I don't know. I wouldn't put you without a chance against Matt Mass, to be honest, right now. But maybe that's just recency bias by seeing you own Lachlan the way you did.
Just a good day. Just a good day.
Yeah. Who do you have? I asked chat, and chat said Denis Cyplenkov in a landslide here with 78% of the votes, with the match taking a little more than 7 minutes here. I do apologize, chat. So, we'll take a final look at the brackets here. Quickly take a look at what's going to happen next week. And then I think that'll be it for today. Let's take a quick look here. Denis Cyplenkov winning over Andrey Pushkar, which means Andrey Pushkar will be facing Genadi Kvikvinia next week, which, that might be a very close one. And I do see in the winners bracket here, we're in round 4 already with only 4 pullers left in the winners bracket. John Brzenk versus Ermes Gasparini and Devon Larratt versus Denis Cyplenkov. That's going to be a good one and something to look forward to. Coming Sunday, probably got another special guest lined up. But Paul, I want to thank you so much for being here with us today and lending us your wisdom and time. I greatly enjoyed it.
My pleasure, man. Super awesome. I like what you're doing. I love these hypotheticals, man. They're super cool to think about. I wish we could actually see some of them. That's the only downside.
Yeah, I hear you. It's kind of bittersweet in a way sometimes with some of these matchups. But thank you for being here, chat. Thank you for joining us too. It's been really awesome. I hope you guys join us coming Sunday when we'll have a very special guest on from Canada. I'll say that much. So that's something to look forward to there, chat. Thank you once again.
Matt Mass coming on. Is that the announcement?
That would be nice. I won't give away anything yet, but we'll see.
Devon, guys.
Yeah.
Tune in.
Yeah, indeed. Who knows? Would be great, but who knows? Thank you once again, Paul, and thank you once again, chat. And see you soon, chat. Bye-bye.